Do you get used to death? Do you get used to living with the fact that you could die any day?
See, I don't worry about that until you get hit by that bullet. See, like, that's just like when people steal cars. They don't worry about getting caught until they get caught, right? And that's the same when we're shooting at a person. I don't think about getting caught until I get caught.
Are the penalties for being caught with an illegal handgun strict enough?
The juvenile detention center can't hold them all. Juvenile might get caught with a gun, and we'll bring him in. He's back home in 2 hours.
So in other words, if they made a law so tough that if you get caught, first-time offender, with a gun, an illegal handgun in your possession, that you'd have to do 10 years, you'd still carry a gun?
Hell yeah.
It must be the values that parents set on children. We need to get our young people back into the churches while they're young, okay? Get them to better understand what life is about.
That's a gunshot.
That's gunshots.
It's on another block.
4 shots.
Yes, it is. It's over this way. It's right on the other side of this building, son. How many was it?
It was
just one, two of them.
Witnesses say the shooter was a kid on a bike.
Down in a red jacket with blue jeans.
Little baby caught in the crossfire. What do you say?
What can I say?
Anybody feel sorry about it? Anybody feel bad about
sorry for it, but I also feel that they shouldn't have been in the way.
Yeah, because they see people with guns, and then they just standing there watching. And then they get shot, their mama's trying to blame it on us.
So you're saying they shouldn't have been there?
No, I'm saying when they see guns, man, they should just move. They just stand there and watch. Bullets be flying off poles, bouncing, hitting people and all that. And then they wonder how their kids getting shot.
Following the recent outburst of shootings, the mayor called for more police to search the housing developments for gangs, guns, and drugs.
I believe there has to be more sweeps in regards to, because the more guns you pull out, the more lives you're going to save.
Beefed up tactical response teams from the Chicago Police Department and the Chicago Housing Authority Police began all-night foot patrols in developments with the highest reports of shootings.
Do not cut down Vincennes. That's too close. Swing down King Drive and pick up 43rd Street from there.
Chicago Housing Authority patrol officers got the call last Friday night to search the Washington Park development on the south side of the city. Officers say the first few minutes of the sweep are critical.
Go. Get out of here.
One in the white, one in the white. How you doing, Chief? Not nothing, ma'am. Not carrying any weapons on you?
No.
Straight? Okay, where you stay at? 708? Okay, 1208? All right.
Do you think there's been a gang truce over the last year or so?
Not at all.
Was there a lull in the shooting?
Yes, during the winter months when it's colder and nobody's out on the streets.
But you wouldn't attribute that to any kind of a truce?
No.
Do you think there's any chance of one getting started now, a truce?
No.
Statistically, Chicago was worse for murders in the 1990s than it is today. While recent years saw a spike in violence, 2025 ended with some of the lowest homicide totals the city has seen in decades. The early 1990s represent the deadliest era in Chicago's recorded history.
A teenage boy walks home from school with a friend in a Chicago neighborhood that often does not make headlines. Suddenly, a car pulls up and shots ring out. When the air clears, another 15-year-old Chicago boy is wounded in a drive-by shooting. Tonight, police at the scene are using flashlights to search for evidence. They're canvassing the neighborhood looking for anyone who can help them find the people who pulled the trigger. Channel 2's Jim Avila is live at the scene with the latest on the search for suspects. Jim?
Linda, the young boy, 15 years old, didn't have a chance to run away, didn't have a chance to cover up. One shot killed him, one shot hit him right in the throat. He is now in critical condition. He was hit by this chain link fence. He was walking home along this street, 103rd Street, when the shots came out of this wooded area, which conceal railroad tracks. Police know where the shots came from. They do not know who fired them. His bloody starter sports jacket crumpled on the street, evidence of a vicious shooting. Flashlights through the trees from detectives searching the nearby railroad tracks for clues, but they find few. A 15-year-old boy, Sidney Brunell, a sophomore at Brother Rice High School, gunned down as he walked home just before dark.
They said he was on his way from school and it was drive-by shooting. They shot him in the neck, I understand, and he said he was in fair condition.
Witnesses in the neighborhood told detectives they heard only one shot. This used to be a quiet place to live. Now it's hit far too often with random violence. This 27-year veteran of the neighborhood says he hears gunshots far too often.
It's really sad that babies are being blown away. Wars are bad enough. Like we have combat right here in our backyard.
Yeah, the war's not overseas anymore, is it?
No, it's right here.
Once again, the 15-year-old boy is in critical condition at Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn. We're told now by the police department they expect him to survive.
Murders peaked in 1992 with 948 deaths. Throughout the 90s, the city frequently recorded over 900 murders annually. The rate in 1992 reached approximately 34 per 100,000 residents. Violence surged during the pandemic years, but has since sharply declined. Homicides reached a modern high of 805 in 2021, with a rate of roughly 29.7 per 100,000. While high, this remained below the 1992 record.
City leaders are looking back on 2025 and pleased with the way crime is trending down. CPD's preliminary crime stats show Chicago saw the fewest number of homicides recorded since 1965, a 60-year low. Jermont Terry is live with a closer look at crime data and what some say contributed to this decrease. Jermont.
Erica, Chicagoans are used to seeing crime slow down when the single-digit temperatures hit. But what these year-end data numbers reveal is that something changed in 2025. The question is, will it continue this year? In the final days of 2025, shots echoed outside St. Sabina Church, leaving 3 men shot, including one player at the Catholic Church's basketball league in Auburn Gresham.
We were violated by this happening at St. Sabina because this is our community.
Chicago police released these images of 2 men they believe are connected to the December 28th shooting. All 3 victims survived and now fall into a category so many do in Chicago, a shooting victim. Early crime numbers show in 2025, 1,847 people were shot, compared to more than 2,700 shooting victims in 2024.
I got probably 20 to 25 phone calls within 24 hours after it was put on the news, giving me names.
Father Michael Flager with St. Sabina says that's key in driving down crime. People stepping up and helping CPD.
When everybody steps up and says enough is enough, things change.
The preliminary stats show 416 people were murdered in 2025. In 2024, there were 587 homicides. Shootings were down 35%, robberies down 36%, and aggravated batteries down 11%.
To the mother whose child got shot or killed this weekend, that doesn't mean a damn thing. Until there is nobody being shot, the work continues.
Back in 2018, he and others shut down the Dan Ryan Expressway, protesting to bring violence to everyone's face. He says for years, neighborhoods thought they were immune from the violence, and now the crime has spread.
Once everybody starts to see that nobody is really safe anywhere, and everybody gets involved, that's when we stop it.
Now, later this month, the city plans to release a comprehensive 2025 crime data report that will reveal and break down the ages and where most of these crimes took place.
Preliminary data for 2025 shows a massive 30% reduction from the previous year, with roughly 416 to 417 homicides reported. City officials and WBEZ analysts reported that 2025 saw the fewest murders since 1965. The then versus now metrics are as follows. Homicide count 948 in the 1990s. The peak year was 1992. 805 in the 2020s, peak year being 2021. In 2025, preliminary years hit 417. The homicide rate was 34 per 100,000 in the 90s, 29.7 per 100,000 in the 2020s, and 14.6 per 100,000 in 2025. While the city still struggles with significant gun violence in specific neighborhoods, the overall numbers indicate that Chicago is currently much safer from homicide than it was during the 1990s.
Roberto Clemente High School students expected to dance the afternoon away on Valentine's Day, but 2 days of neighborhood violence forced officials to cancel the party, fearing bullets might replace Cupid's arrows.
I know that there's a war between two gangs in the school, and all I do is gotta watch out what's going on and can't help but let it pass. That's it.
The bloodshed started with a bang Tuesday and continued with shootings at 2620 West Evergreen Avenue, 1835 North Mozart Street, 1545 West Lemoyne Avenue, 1430 North Maplewood, 2544 West Cortez, 1258 North Rockwell, and finally, a fatal shooting Valentine's night in the 2500 block of West Shakespeare.
Police believe most, if not all, of the shooting victims are members of one particular gang. As far as they know, that gang hasn't retaliated yet, but police say they are holding their breath as it is probably just a matter of time.
And if there is any relation amongst these shootings, we want to address that and make sure that it stops at this time.
So far, the school has been a safe haven, but the surrounding streets overlap police districts, so the police called a meeting to coordinate a battle plan of their own.
That's the reason we're gathering our strategies, we're gathering our forces, and we're going to develop a strategy and make sure that it stops.
Until then, students who must walk the front lines have more to worry about than homework and a date for a dance that never happened.
The 1990s in Chicago were marked by several high-profile murders and violent incidents that often became national symbols of urban decay and the failings of the juvenile justice system. Robert Yummy Sandifer, 1994. At age 11, Sandifer was already a member of the Black Disciples gang. In August 1994, he was ordered to carry out a gang hit, during which he fatally shot 14-year-old Siobhan Dean with a stray bullet. While on the run from a national manhunt, Sandifer was lured to a railroad underpass by fellow gang members Craig Hardaway and Derek Hardaway. Fearing he would snitch, the brothers executed him with 2 shots to the back of the head on September 1st, 1994.
In Chicago, well on its way to recording 930 homicides, the second highest on record. Among the dead, 14-year-old Siobhan Dean, shot in the head by a stray bullet during a shooting spree in the city's Roseland neighborhood that injured 2 other teens. Chicago police quickly identified 11-year-old Robert Sandifer as the gunman. That led to an intense 3-day manhunt. Gang leaders decided that Robert needed to be silenced because he knew too much, so they ordered Craig to kill him.
Why did Robert die?
By means of not my control.
And was it your life versus his life?
Absolutely.
You thought it was that simple as either you do this or you die.
And that's how it always boils down. It's not like any wiggle room when you live in that lifestyle.
So you're saying you had no other choice?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
In 3 days, Chicago will mark an infamous anniversary that shocked the nation. 20 years ago, 11-year-old Robert Yummy Sandifer was executed by fellow gang members after he killed a 14-year-old girl. Fox 32's Craig Wall takes a look at how the danger of the street has changed in 2 decades.
When Robert Yummy Sandifer was shot in the back of the head and left for dead in a pedestrian walkway at 108th and Cottage Grove, the crime was so shocking it made the cover of Time magazine. 1994 was a violent year in Chicago with 930 murders compared to last year when there were 415. But for many, the streets of Chicago don't feel any safer.
I remember a city on edge. I remember even my surroundings on edge.
Diane Latiker founded the anti-violence organization Kids Off the Block in the Roseland neighborhood in 2003, building a brick memorial to young murder victims. She's lived among the violence in Roseland for 30 years, and one thing hasn't changed.
It's still people who feel there's no other power they have but the gun.
Cousins James and Curtis Stagger take part in her program.
I got like 7 friends that been killed.
And 3 in just the last month.
You can be innocent and still get shot. It's dangerous as well.
A former gang member who was 17 when Sandifer was shot says the streets are more dangerous now because gangs have splintered and no one is in charge. Latiker agrees.
The danger is, I'm not telling anybody to come shoot you personally. I'm just shooting. So if you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I'm just shooting, then, oh well.
And social media nowadays allows feuds to blow up at any time, leading to gunfire.
I guess there's more guns out here now. Everybody got a gun now, so I guess that's why you can say it's worse than anybody shooting. And it's just all messed up. Everybody into it with somebody.
Police may be doing what they can, but for people in some neighborhoods, it may never be enough to really change things.
I look over my shoulder a lot, like every day. Every day I step outside, even when I step on my porch, I gotta watch.
One positive difference Diane Latiker sees from 20 years ago is a sense in communities that violence is everybody's problem. But the police superintendents then and now share the same belief that the root cause of the violence remains the same: gangs, guns, and drugs.
His death landed him on the cover of Time magazine with the headline, "So Young to Kill, So Young to Die," sparking a massive debate over juvenile super predators. Dantrell Davis, 1992, a 7-year-old boy who was shot by a sniper while walking with his mother to school in the Cabrini Green housing projects. His death led to a temporary gang truce and became a rallying cry for public housing safety.
Dantrell Davis. He was 7 years old when he was murdered in 1992 while walking to school from Cabrini Green. His death sparked a gang truce, the murder of a child even too much for the streets back then. Decades later, children are being murdered playing outside, in the house, in the car. Always investigating, Charlie DeMar has more on what happened to the code, where children were off limits.
My son got killed in my face. You know, standing on the side of me.
Annette Freeman was walking her son Dantrell Davis to school in 1992 from their Cabrini Green Projects home when Anthony Garrett, perched up in a high-rise, shot and killed the 7-year-old.
I think of Danny every day.
Dantrell's killer later confessing that he was aiming for a rival gang member.
When Danny died, I'm telling you, these black kings, these black men, they stood up. Because they looked at Danny, this is my son, this could be my nephew, my grandchild.
Danny's death sparking outrage. It led to the demolition of the Cabrini Green projects and even ignited a truce between the gangs.
And that truce lasted for at least 3 to 4 years.
Everybody was embarrassed.
Maurice Perkins helped facilitate that truce.
They cooperated. It was a thing to do at the time.
So did Wallace Gator Bradley.
How y'all doing?
A former gangster disciple. We met him as he got his shoe shined.
The reason that it worked in the 90s, because everyone was a part of it. Kids, women, elderly, was off limits.
You didn't touch him?
Didn't touch him.
But with at least 8 children under the age of 10 shot in the city in just 2 weeks, some are asking if that code still carries any weight.
This is something that we got to do.
Gator catches up with some friends on Calumet.
That 1-year-old that got killed?
His conversations of late have focused on kids getting shot. He says the rule still applies.
We as men got to put it down and say, that still exists. It never left.
We all got a responsibility.
We all got a responsibility, man.
But it never left.
In 1 week, them babies dropped. Man, y'all, it's this. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
With every child shot recently, Freeman forced to remember that October walk to school in '92.
People need to let these men stand up and take control again, because it worked.
Do you think it could work today?
I know it could work today, and it could work in even a greater preponderance.
How did we keep kids safe after Danny's death?
Dantrell's killer was convicted and sentenced to 100 years in prison. Chicago police still looking for the shooters involved in these most recent high-profile cases involving kids.
The Girl X case, 1997. Although not a murder, the victim survived with severe permanent disabilities. The attack on 9-year-old Toya Curry, known as Girl X, shocked the nation. She was lured into an apartment in Cabrini Green, raped, choked, and forced to ingest roach spray before being left for dead in a stairwell. Patrick Sykes was sentenced to 120 years for the attack. Lee Miglin, 1997, a prominent Chicago real estate developer who was brutally murdered in his Gold Coast home by spree killer Andrew Cunanan. Cunanan later went on to kill fashion designer Gianni Versace in Miami.
I'm Linda McLennan.
And I'm Lester Holt. No place and no one is immune from violence, yet tonight we begin with the story of a murder nearly as disturbing for where it happened as it is for who the victim was. He was a real estate tycoon, married to the prominent owner of a Chicago cosmetics company. Lee and Marilyn Miglin lived on Chicago's Gold Coast, married for more than 30 years. Tonight, police are still on the scene where Lee's body was found this morning. Tonight, police say they know how he died and are left with some intriguing clues that could tell them a lot about Lee Miglin's last moments of life and perhaps even point to a killer. News 2 Chicago's Jodine Costanzo has been following the case. She joins us now live from the Gold Coast with the latest. Jodine?
Lester, in a neighborhood where murder is so rare, people here are understandably shaken. Tonight, police have secured both the front and the back of the Miglin home where family and friends are gathering, undoubtedly asking, why was Lee Miglin murdered? Earlier tonight, his son came out and made a brief statement to the media.
It's a very difficult time for all of us. I just arrived myself from Los Angeles, and we're all just grieving the loss of my father. And we don't know any details of what's happening.
Here's what police are saying. They found Lee Miglin with his throat slashed ear to ear and his feet bound with masking tape. The 72-year-old real estate mogul was on the floor of the garage behind his Scott Street home. But was he killed there? The medical examiner says Miglin's clothes were saturated in blood, but the area around the body was clean. That may suggest the body was moved. His wife Marilyn apparently became suspicious when she arrived home from a business trip to Canada this morning to find Lee missing and a handgun in the couple's bathroom. She allegedly told police she knows who owns the gun, but who that person is, police aren't saying. Marilyn then called 911 and reported her husband missing, and missing from the garage, the Miglin's 94 green Lexus. Police think Miglin was murdered between 2 and 5 yesterday afternoon. News 2 Chicago has learned that Miglin spent part of the morning getting a haircut at this Oak Street hair salon.
He was in a very good mood. We were discussing Marilyn's fundraising at the Drake, which was very successful, and that they were planning to go to Israel and name a wing in her honor, and he was looking forward to it.
When he left the salon, Dolores never imagined it would be the last time she would see him.
Now, police have put out an all-points bulletin for the Miglin's car. It is a 1994 green Lexus, and that license plate number is YKD399. Again, that number, YKD399. If you have any information about that car, you're asked to call police.
The Englewood Stranglers. Throughout the 90s, the Englewood neighborhood was terrorized by serial killings. Notable perpetrators include Andre Crawford, who murdered 11 women between 1993 and 1999.
A serial killer convicted of rape and murdering 11 women in Chicago could have been sentenced to death. Instead, a jury recommended that Andre Crawford spend the rest of his life in prison. And as ABC 7's John Garcia reports, some relatives of the victims say justice was not served today.
Shortly after hearing the verdict, family members of the 11 victims held hands and prayed outside the courtroom. Most say they had hoped to see Andre Crawford headed for death row. Life in prison is not the justice they were looking for.
I wanted him dead. I just wanted him dead. I wanted the verdict to come back for him to be deceased. Just like he killed them women, he don't justify to live.
Most of the 12-person jury apparently felt the same way. Denise Travers listened to testimony for 6 weeks. She says 10 jurors voted for the death penalty, but 2 held out.
I'm sorry for the families. I'm sorry the past 6 weeks have been in vain because he didn't get what he deserved.
Andre Crawford raped and murdered 11 women, luring them to abandoned buildings with the promise of drugs. A 12th victim survived by playing dead until he left. Claudia Robinson says she is still haunted by Crawford.
He was a killer. He was a monster. And the system gonna let a monster live better than me today. I cannot work. I had nightmares.
State's Attorney Anita Alvarez issued a statement saying, certainly believe that the terror and horror inflicted by this defendant on the multiple victims that he sexually assaulted and murdered was worthy of a death sentence. Crawford's attorneys, however, argued in court that he was abandoned as a baby and sexually abused through his teenage years. They asked for mercy.
I don't know what he wanted. He never told me. He appeared to be a happy man after it was over, though. In what way? Smack?
Prosecutors alleged in court that Crawford raped his cellmate while at the Cook County Jail. They argued that he would be a danger to other inmates if sent to the general prison population rather than death row. Several jurors tonight tell me that there was a heated debate, but no changing the minds of the two jurors who held out and voted for life in prison.
All right. Thanks, John.
And Herbert Geralds, convicted of killing 5 women in the mid-1990s.
Some Englewood residents have been living with a different kind of fear. Now police believe they have one of their reasons for concern in custody.
Hubert Geralds, Jr., the man arrested by Chicago police for the strangulation murder of Mary Blackman, has admitted to killing 5 other women by similar means.
30-year-old Hubert Geralds is a handyman who also uses drugs. He reportedly told police he killed the women after fights over crack cocaine, saying the women wanted more drugs than he was willing to share.
And they would go off to a lonely, secluded location for the purpose of doing drugs. And during the course of doing drugs, Griggs would attack the victim and kill her.
The latest victim, Mary Blackman, was found Saturday evening in a trash bin in back of where Geralds lived. Blackman was his sister's best friend.
It wasn't nothing pretty that you would like to see.
Residents are somewhat relieved.
I hope he's the one that did it, and I hope he gets punished for it.
I'm always going to be cautious about where I go, what I do, and my kids, because I do have a little girl also.
In March, Geralds told police he'd found a dead woman near the place where he worked. He wasn't considered a suspect at that time, but now police are looking at whether Geralds might be responsible for more than the 6 murders for which he's charged.
The Ford Heights 4 exoneration case. While the original double murder of Lawrence Lionberg and Carol Sharmal occurred in 1978, the case made major headlines in the 90s when the 4 men convicted were found to be innocent through DNA evidence and the work of journalism students, leading to their release in 1996. In the 1990s, Chicago experienced a surge in gang violence driven largely by territorial disputes and the high-profit crack cocaine market. Between 1991 and 1995 alone, the city recorded over 200 gang-related murders.
The county-wide arrests started early Wednesday and were not finished until Saturday. When it was over, arrest warrants were served on a total of 89 wanted felons. The 4-day Operation Safe Streets targeted active gang members or fugitives with some gang affiliation.
I think all the officers knew what they were looking for, that some of these people, most of these people have gang affiliation, but they also had criminal warrants for them. So it gives us an opportunity to arrest them.
Charges range from armed robbery and resisting arrest to possession of a controlled substance. Among those under arrest, 24-year-old Shanier Elston of Chicago, called one of the state's top 20 gang fugitives. Alleged gang member Larry Johnson of Chicago, who reportedly fired shots from a CHA building within 2 blocks of King High School. And 22-year-old Richard Navzinger of Des Plaines, who allegedly threatened to kill a 14-year-old girl if she did not join his gang.
The idea right now is to identify groups of gang members and take action as we can, working with the state's attorney's office to build cases so that we can prosecute these people.
Cook County authorities say they have stepped up the number of detectives in gang units to fight gang violence, and they say the sweep is proof of their efforts.
I think we've made some significant strides these last few months. We're going to continue on with that, and whatever it takes, I think, is our view that we're going to do.
The Sheriff's Department credits the success of Operation Safe Streets to the cooperation of different law enforcement agencies. A united front, they say, they will need to hold strong to continue fighting the spread of gang crimes.
One of these murders would be of Mickey Bull in 1991. Michael Mickey Bull Johnson a leader of the Black Disciples, was gunned down in Englewood. His murder, allegedly by Gangster Disciples members, sparked a brutal retaliatory cycle that led to the deaths of 3 others the very next day.
Well, then in 1991, Mickey Bull ends up getting killed. Do you remember the whole situation around that?
No, not really. But it's a whole lot of speculation, which I don't want to get into because all the facts ain't there. But they were saying that it was Mickey Bull's fault. Some of them saying that he was crossed when he was killed. But once again, I would say these drugs, this cocaine, had a lot to do with a lot of failure to mankind, to families, and everything.
Well, after the murder happened, a war broke out in Chicago. A number of people started getting killed from both sides. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I remember that a lot of killing jumped off. I remember it didn't last long, but some killing did happen, and people was getting killed.
Chuck Dorsey, 1996, a Gangster Disciples leader murdered during internal jockeying for power after federal indictments created a leadership vacuum. The baseball cap killing, 1990. Curtis Sims, a mechanic, was shot by gang members because he wore a baseball cap cocked to the right, a style they associated with a rival gang. The school step shooting, 1990. Teens Richard Gonzalez, 15, and Donna Morgan, 17, were killed while standing on the steps of Our Lady of Mercy School when a car carrying gang members looking for rivals opened fire. Many notable 1990s murders occurred in or near public housing developments like Cabrini Green, Ida B. Wells, and the Robert Taylor homes. Gangs like the Gangster Disciples and Vice Lords often control entire floors or buildings to facilitate drug trade, leading to frequent snipings and turf wars.
Tighter security is the order of the night at Cabrini Green, where Chicago police and federal agents swept 3 more buildings today as pressure mounts to make Cabrini a safe place to live. But officials say it's too soon to tell if a so-called gang truce has restored peace to the project.
John, since the death of young Dantrell Davis, nearly 24 of the high-rises at Cabrini have been swept for guns and drugs. Officials say that pace will continue. For their part, gang members have announced they'll end the warfare. But Cabrini residents have reason to be skeptical. Russ Ewing explains.
Officials moved in on 3 Cabrini buildings, checking tenants listed on CHA records and forcing unauthorized tenants to move out. Workers painted walls and sealed up vacant apartments, while at the same time police looked for weapons in stairwells and in other hiding places. The lockdown came in the wake of a truce announcement by alleged leaders of a number of street gangs. Police had little to say about the truce, but they pointed out that the most powerful gang in that area was not present when civic leaders and gang members announced their truce.
What you saw was one gang faction with all the little offshoot gang factions who made peace among themselves.
Cabrini residents all agreed that they are safe as long as police are in their front yards, but they question the truce, wondering what will happen when police leave.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, but do you think it's real, or do you think it's...
I think it's real. I think it's real.
Once it's over, then they ain't gonna give us as much attention as we get now. So that's what I feel.
Those who live here and know the dangers and the problems say that they're glad this is happening, but they're not naive. They say that the drug dealers are going to continue to sell drugs and drug addicts are going to continue to use them. And they say that the gangbangers are going to continue to fight whenever they decide to. but they hope that it won't continue to happen here.
In the 1990s, the fight against Chicago's gangs shifted from street-level policing to massive federal investigations that dismantled the leadership of the city's most powerful organizations. The era was dominated by kingpins who managed vast criminal empires, often from behind bars. Larry Hoover, known as King Larry, he co-founded the Gangster Disciples. While serving a state murder sentence, he rebranded the gang as Growth and Development, a supposed community service group. However, federal authorities proved this was a front for a $100 million year drug empire with 30,000 soldiers. In 1997, he was convicted on federal charges and given 6 life sentences.
His name is Larry Hoover. He's the reputed leader of the Black Gangster Disciples street gang, one of the largest in the nation. For 20 years, he's been locked behind prison walls because of a murder conviction. This week, he goes before the state parole board, and he could soon be a free man. Tonight, he is breaking his silence. Channel 2's John Davis has the story you'll see first on Channel 2 News.
I've done my time. I paid my debt to society.
Larry Hoover, also known as King Larry, the reputed head of the Black Gangster Disciples. He is now 42 years old, older and wiser, he says.
Anytime you do a extensive amount of time, it can have 2 effects. It can harden you, or it can make you think. And I've thought.
And apparently he's done a lot of thinking about stopping the senseless gang-related violence plaguing the streets of Chicago. Violence, he says, over vague ideologies.
One teenager don't like the other teenager because the way he wears his hat, because his ideology is different from his. A disciple don't like a vice lord. We all black people. It's no different.
Hoover admits to being one of the architects of Chicago's fragile gang truce. He also takes credit for authorizing members of his so-called street organization to march on City Hall last May during a protest over plans to close healthcare clinics in African-American neighborhoods. After spending 20 years in the Illinois prison system, Larry Hoover has just about seen it all. He started out at the maximum security prison at Stateville. 6 years ago, he came here to Vienna, a minimum security prison in the southern part of the state. Some say it is the final step toward freedom. Hoover says he knows he can't change the past, but that he wants the chance to prove that he can be a positive influence on the future. John Davis, Channel 2 News.
Hoover's parole hearing is set for Thursday. On Wednesday, several prominent African-American leaders will testify in support of Hoover's release.
Jeff Fort, the leader of the El Rukins, formerly the Black Pea Stones. By the early 1990s, Fort was already serving a long sentence for a bizarre 1987 conviction involving a terrorist for hire plot with the Libyan government. Despite being in a supermax prison, he continued to exert influence over his tribe until further federal crackdowns isolated him completely.
What I would like for them to do is to identify themselves, put on a uniform, put on the white hats like the Ku Klux Klans did in Cairo, to identify themselves so we can know who they are. If not, it's going to be a lot of innocent peoples out here getting hurt. Because the way it is now, brothers saying to me, well, Jeff, these people's talking about they're going to kill us. Well, what we going to do? We ain't going to stand back and let these old people kill us. It ain't going to be no killing without killing.
David Barksdale, Black Disciples. Though he died in 1974, his legacy shaped the 90s. His death caused the original Black Gangster Disciple Nation to split into the Gangster Disciples under Hoover and the Black Disciples under Jerome Shorty Freeman. This rivalry fueled much of the violence seen in the 1990s, including the Yummy Sandifer case. Authorities realized that street arrests weren't stopping the violence, leading to complex multi-year sting operations. Operation Headache, 1995. A massive joint local and federal task force that targeted the Gangster Disciples leadership. Investigators used hidden transmitters and visitor badges to record Hoover's private meetings in prison. This led to the indictment of 39 high-ranking members, effectively beheading the organization.
Good evening. Topping Chicago's news at 6. A federal crackdown on Chicago's largest and most notorious street gang. A 6-year investigation by local, state, and federal officials called Operation Headache has resulted in the indictments of 39 suspected members of the Gangster Disciples street gang. And reputed gang leader Larry Hoover has been transferred from a state prison to federal custody to face the charges. Channel 2's Mike Parker is live at the Dirksen Federal Building with the latest. Mike.
Mariette, according to U.S. Attorney James Burns, the hierarchy of the drug-dealing Gangster Disciples drug operation has now been decimated by these 39 indictments today. We have, Burns said today, cut off the head of the snake. The federal case against the gang grew out of this raid in April. Federal agents raided 2 businesses linked to imprisoned gang leader Larry Hoover and his wife. In addition to finding $67,000 in cash, investigators got their first look at file cabinets full of records and documents. What they found helped lead to the indictments today of gang leader Larry Hoover and 38 of his lieutenants.
They have had a 25-year conspiracy going in this area that is clearly charged in the indictment, and the heart of the conspiracy was to distribute coke, crack, heroin, and marijuana.
Although he's been in prison on murder charges, authorities say Larry Hoover has been the gang's primary policymaker, and that policy was enforced through violence, physical beatings, up to and including murder. And firms like those targeted in that April raid were apparently involved. Narcotics profits were laundered, the indictments say, through legitimate businesses. And the gang's drug dealers were allegedly ordered to pay political money to the gang's political arm, the group known as 21st Century Vote. A leader of that group, former aldermanic candidate Wallace Gator Bradley, today decried the indictments.
I think the people in the community need to see that this is a continuation of a movement against any black organization that stand up for the betterment of their people.
One of the 39 suspects indicted today is Chicago police officer Sonia Irwin. Today, Police Superintendent Matt Rodriguez would say only that she was part of the conspiracy and is expected to surrender. Rodriguez would not comment on a report that Sonia Irwin was in fact living with the number 2 leader of the Gangster Disciples. So far, 22 of the 39 suspects are now in custody. The others are being sought.
Operation Silver Shovel, 1990s. While primarily a political corruption probe, this FBI investigation exposed the deep links between Chicago's street gangs, labor unions, and elected officials. It resulted in the convictions of 18 people, including 6 city aldermen who took bribes to allow illegal activities in their wards.
Before you get to the building. All right, this guy's right out on Lake Street. If you got somebody come up Lake and somebody hit the building, we got them. 2215.
Should I? The guy with the other gun's in the doorway, right? I'm
hopefully.
Understood.
How close are you all?
He's on the
They
move,
just
yeah.
blew it. They're gonna blow it for us if they keep coming. Somebody gotta give him a wave off.
He's on the side. He's right on the side. I got him.
5300. The guy in the middle of the playground.
Here's the cops.
The guy in the middle of the playground's got the gun. He's got on a white shirt. You all, the TAC team was walking up now.
All right, you want out?
He's coming back toward Lake Street. He's coming back Lake Street and stop. The guy's in the middle of the playground by the slide. The one by the slide.
This guy back here.
Where's the cop? Here they are. You
Tell
want
him
out?
back here. Tell this guy here.
What the fuck are they doing? 5300, can I have the air squad?
Here's the gun, right here. Welcome to the door.
5300, can I have the air? On top of your head. What the guy's That motherfucker pitched that fucking gun up in there. Where the gun at, motherfucker? I ain't had no gun. Oh, shit. Motherfucking lie. Holding your side.
No, I did.
Oh, shit.
I'm holding my pants.
We got one with a gun already.
Get
that
out.
Motherfucker ditched that pistol in that fucking vacant lot.
Stay down.
I didn't hide nothing.
Stay there.
He ran right through there.
Don't move.
5300, I got him in custody, and right over here, just like Oakley and Oakley.
You ain't got the will you?
No, we got one gun.
He still had it going up through the alley. I know
this motherfucker had another gun. He had a gun.
Right through here?
Right.
We're walking for these punch finder.
Grass anywhere. Yeah, he ran in between 2250 and 2245, right up straight west, and then over here to a vacant lot where I got him at. He still had the gun tactic.
Good, we got him.
Did they get the guy with the wife?
They got the guy in the white.
Where is he? Can they bring him over here?
Yeah.
Danny, tape and backup battery at your convenience.
Talk about publicity. Actually, did they find that gun? They're still looking. You got it right with this.
Go ahead. Clear, please, Charles, George, Adam, magazine. Charles, George, Adam, magazine.
He went through the alley. From what I saw, he went through the alley over here. The gun could be in that alley across the street.
He didn't stop running until he got over here. He was still running all balls. And when he came across the street, he was still holding his side. That makes me think it was over here. What if that's...
Operation Family Secrets started in 1999. Though it concluded in the 2000s, this investigation began in the late 90s to solve 18 long-standing Chicago outfit mob murders. It revealed how transitional organized crime still interacted with street-level violence during the decade.
The defendants were brought to the courthouse this afternoon by U.S. Marshals from the Metropolitan Correctional Center, where they have been held since the trial began 11 weeks ago. The only defendant who has been free on bond is former Chicago police officer Anthony Doyle. Guilty of racketeering conspiracy are 78-year-old mob capo Joey the Clown Lombardo, 62-year-old top boss Jimmy the Little Guy Marcello, 70-year-old Frank the Breeze Calabrese, longtime enforcer of the feared Chinatown crew, 70-year-old Paul the Indian Shiro, a reputed mob hitman based in Phoenix, Arizona, and 62-year-old Anthony Twan Doyle, who served as a mob messenger to imprisoned outfit leaders. Ex-copper Doyle, freed on bond, seemed confident as he entered the Dirksen building this afternoon. However, his joy was short-lived. After he was found guilty, Judge James Zagel revoked his bond and remanded him to custody. An interested observer at the trial, former Chicago police detective James Jack is writing a book about the Family Secrets case.
Were you surprised at what came down today?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I felt that deep in my heart that they were going to convict them on all counts.
And they did.
And they did.
The successful prosecution of leaders like Hoover and Ford had an unintended power vacuum effect. Without older leaders to enforce discipline, gangs fracture into smaller, more violent factions run by younger members. The shift from a corporate gang structure to decentralized cliques is why violence today is often described as more unpredictable than it was in the early 1990s. Alright y'all, there y'all have it, man. That's a little documentary on, how Chicago was way more violent, even though it's violent now, but how it was more violent in the 90s compared to now, even with the switches and all of that. So hey man, get in that comment section, let me know what y'all think, drillers and trappers. We outside trapping and drilling 247. Don't go nowhere. Watch that next video. Gang!